The system's voice echoed in my head for the last time. Host Elena, please confirm you are abandoning the strategy mission. I stared at my reflection in the hotel mirror, 35 years old, dark circles under my eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. A face that had once been bright with hope, now hollowed out by a decade of trying to love a man who wouldn't let me. Confirm, I said. I'm done. 108 attempts to win Nathan Hayes have been recorded, all failed. The system's tone was neutral, clinical. Your cumulative score qualifies you for a return transfer to your home world. Processing will take 7 standard days. Do you wish to proceed? Proceed. The word hung in the air like a door slamming shut. I expected to feel something grief, relief, regret, but all I felt was exhaustion. The bone-deep tiredness of someone who'd been running a marathon she was never meant to finish. 10 years, 108 strategies, every approach I could imagine, the supportive wife, the career woman, the seductress, the damsel in distress, the independent powerhouse. I'd read every psychology book, studied every romance trope, tried every angle I could think of. Nathan Hayes never even flinched. I'd fallen in love with him along the way. That was the cruelest part. What started as a mission became genuine, desperate affection. I offered him everything, my time, my energy, my creativity. I'd given up my career as a designer because he needed someone to manage the house. I'd learned to cook his favorite meals, memorized his coffee order, anticipated his needs before he could voice them. And he responded with nothing but distance. The system had warned me, early on. Host, this subject displays a typical emotional resistance. Success probability is below 40%. Recommend alternative target. I'd ignored it, because I'd seen something in Nathan, or maybe I imagined it. A flicker of warmth in his eyes when he thought I wasn't looking. A moment of tenderness when he held me after my parents died. Tiny breadcrumbs that I'd turned into a feast of hope. Stupid. So stupid. I'd read it in the system's logs now. The cold truth I'd been avoiding for a decade. Nathan was emotionally unavailable, pathologically avoidant, and fundamentally incapable of the kind of love I was trying to extract from him. The system had known. Everyone had known, except me. Well, I know now. 7 days. That was all I had left in this world. 7 days before I could go home, back to my real life, back to being someone other than Nathan's wife and the woman who tried too hard. I looked around the bedroom I'd shared with him for 10 years, the king-sized bed where I'd slept alone more nights than I could count. The closet where my clothes had been pushed to one side to make room for his, and the wedding photo on the dresser, 2 smiling strangers who'd never really known each other. I pulled up my phone and started scrolling through the memories I'd carefully curated over the years, photos of birthday dinners he'd missed, anniversary celebrations I'd spent alone. The one time we'd managed a vacation together and he'd spent most of it on his phone, talking to work. I deleted the app. Then I went to the kitchen and started packing the things I'd need for the next week. Not much, a few changes of clothes, my laptop, the small box of keepsakes from my parents. Everything else could stay. I didn't want to take anything that reminded me of him. The divorce papers were already drafted. I'd started working on them months ago, in the dark hours of the night when I couldn't sleep and the weight of my failure pressed down on my chest. I'd never had the courage to show them to him. But I'd kept them updated, just in case. Funny how things work out. I printed a fresh copy, signed my name at the bottom, and left it on the kitchen counter where he'd find it. Underneath, I wrote a short note. Xinhao, I'm done waiting. Let me go. Xinhao. I didn't expect him to come home. He'd been working late for the past 3 months or so, he said. I'd stopped questioning it. The excuses were always the same. Research project, critical deadline, can't leave the lab. I believed him for years, convinced myself he was devoted to his work and I was being unreasonable for wanting more. Then I'd seen them together. Madison, the new researcher from the head of the department, young and bright and fresh out of graduate school. I brought Nathan dinner one night at the lab, thinking I was being thoughtful, and I found them in his office, her hand on his shoulder. His head bent toward hers, listening to something she was saying. The look on his face, it was the same look I'd been trying to get from him for 10 years. He'd never looked at me that way. Not once. I'd left without saying anything. I'd pretended I hadn't seen. I'd gone home and cried into my pillow and convinced myself I was overreacting. They were colleagues. It was innocent. I was being paranoid. But I'd started paying attention after that. The way he tensed up when Madison's name came up. The way he'd scroll through his phone and smile at messages he didn't show me. The way he'd come home smelling like her perfume. I know. I'd known for months. I just hadn't been ready to admit it. I was ready now. At 11 p.m., the front door opened. Nathan walked in, loosening his tie, looking surprised to find me in the living room. I was usually in bed by now, too tired from another day of waiting. But tonight, I was sitting on the couch, fully dressed, my bags packed by the door. You're still up, he said. It wasn't a question. I couldn't sleep. He walked past me toward the kitchen, already pulling off his suit jacket. I told you not to wait. The project is going to be running late for another few weeks. It's easier if you just go to bed. I found the divorce papers. He stopped, turned slowly. What? I found them in your study. You printed them 3 months ago. Signed and dated. You were going to leave me before I could leave you. The silence stretched between us like a canyon. I didn't know you seen them, he said finally. I was going to tell you. When? After you already moved out, after you made all the arrangements. You were going to make me find out like I found out about everything else. I stood up. I spent 10 years trying to get you to love me, 10 years, and you couldn't even give me the courtesy of telling me you were done. He didn't deny it. He didn't apologize. He just stood there, looking at me like I was a problem he'd been hoping would solve itself. The papers are on the counter, I said. I already signed my copy. You can sign yours and file them whenever you want. I'm leaving. Leaving where? Anywhere you're not. I grabbed my bags and walked out the door. The hotel room was small and anonymous, exactly what I needed. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over in my head. I expected him to fight, to argue, to ask me to stay, to at least pretend he cared. But he hadn't even tried. Maybe I was the one who'd been pretending all along. The system checked in the next morning. Host Elena, your departure is scheduled for 6 days, 14 hours, and 22 minutes from now. Is there anything you require before the transfer is complete? Answers. I'm sorry. Why didn't he love me? I asked. 108 strategies. 10 years. I gave him everything. Why wasn't it enough? The system was silent for a long moment. Host, the subject's emotional architecture is fundamentally incompatible with your approach. Nathan Hayes was never capable of the kind of love you were trying to extract. His attachment style is avoidant. His capacity for emotional intimacy is severely limited. You couldn't have succeeded because the outcome was predetermined by his psychological makeup. Then why did I keep trying? Because you love him, and love makes you believe impossible things are possible. I spent the next 5 days alone. I went to the cemetery to visit my parents' graves, the only family I'd had in this world. I stood in the rain, letting it soak through my coat, and told them I was sorry. Sorry I'd wasted my life on someone who didn't deserve it. Sorry I'd let myself become so small. I visited the coffee shop where Nathan and I had our first date, the part where we walked on our wedding day. The museum where he finally kissed me, years ago, when I was still young enough to believe in happy endings. I said goodbye to all of it. On day 6, I got a text from an unknown number. 星号 Elena. It's Madison. I need to talk to you. 星号. I stared at the screen. The woman who'd taken everything from me, reaching out like we were friends. 星号, don't bother. 星号, I typed back. 星号, I'm leaving. He's all yours. 星号. 星号, it's not like that. Please. I need to tell you something. 星号. I didn't respond. I didn't care. The transfer was scheduled for midnight. I spent the last day doing nothing, sitting in the hotel room, watching the sunset, feeling the weight of 10 years finally starting to lift. I was tired, so tired. But underneath the exhaustion, there was something else. Freedom. At 11:45 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Nathan. 星号, please don't leave. I can't explain. 星号. I didn't answer. 星号, I know I don't deserve you. I know I was wrong. But I'm asking you to stay. 星号. Still nothing. 星号 Elena. Please. 星号. I typed one last message. 星号, you had 10 years. I'm done. 星号. Then I turned off my phone, closed my eyes, and waited for the system to take me home. The transfer was instantaneous. One moment I was in that sterile hotel room. The next I was standing in the familiar white expanse of the system's reception hub. It looked exactly as I remembered it, featureless walls, soft ambient light, a floating interface that pulsed with gentle blue light. Welcome home, host Elena. The system's voice was warmer here, less clinical. Your return has been processed. Congratulations on completing your assignment. Assignment? I left, and it came back hollow. Is that what we're calling it? 108 failures and a broken heart. Sure, that's a great assignment. The system was quiet for a moment, then, in a softer tone, your emotional distress is noted. You've been granted 7 days of mandatory rest before your next deployment. I recommend you use this time to decompress. Next deployment? I shook my head. I don't want a next deployment. I don't want to ever love anyone again. That's not how this works, host. You chose this life. The missions will continue. I didn't have the energy to argue. I just nodded and walked toward the residential wing, toward the small apartment I'd been assigned decades ago when I first joined the systems program. But I couldn't stop thinking about Nathan. Not with longing, not anymore. With something darker. With 星号 Y 星号. I'd been back for 3 days when the system called me in for a post-mission review. I sat in the same chair I'd sat in 100 times before, across from the same floating interface, waiting for the same debrief I always received. But this time, there was something different in the system's tone. Host Elena, there's something you should know. Something else. I leaned back. I already know I failed. What else is there? The new host assigned to Nathan Hayes after your departure has successfully completed the mission. Nathan Hayes has been fully integrated. I sat up. What? He was successfully guided toward emotional openness and relationship commitment. The mission is complete. That's impossible. My voice came up sharper than I intended. I tried for 10 years. 108 strategies. He didn't budge. How could someone else? The new host used a different approach, one that leveraged information unavailable to you. The system's voice was carefully neutral. Nathan Hayes was already in love with you. The new host simply needed to help him express it. I stared at the interface. In love with me? That's not true. He never loved me. He couldn't even look at me without making me feel like I was intruding on his life. He loved you, but he was afraid. Afraid of what? Losing you. The explanation came in fragments, pieces I had to assemble myself. The system showed me the logs from Nathan's perspective, his emotional data, his internal state during those 10 years. I'd assumed he was cold, indifferent, incapable of feeling. But the data told a different story. He felt everything. He just buried it so deep that even he couldn't access it. I don't understand, I said. If he loved me, why didn't he show it? Why did he push me away? Because he was dying. The words hit me like a physical blow. Dying? Nathan Hayes was diagnosed with a terminal illness shortly after your marriage. He chose not to tell you. He believed that if you knew, you'd stay out of Kitty. He wanted to let you go to give you a chance at a life without him. He could have told me. He should have told me. I would have. What would you have done, Elena? Stayed. Watched him waste away. Loved him until the end. The system paused. That's exactly what he was trying to prevent. He didn't want you to suffer for him. I spent the next 2 days in a fog. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just sat in my apartment, replaying every conversation, every interaction, every cold dismissal that had felt like a rejection but might have been something else entirely. He pulled away because he was scared, because he was dying, because he thought he was protecting me. But he let me believe I was the problem. He let me hate myself for 10 years. He watched me try every strategy, exhaust every possibility, and he'd never once told me the truth. Was that love? Or was that cruelty dressed up as sacrifice? I requested access to the full mission logs. The system hesitated. It was unusual for a host to review another host's work, but eventually, it granted my request. I sat in the archive room, scrolling through the new host's strategies. They'd been subtle, gentle, less about winning Nathan's love and more about helping him confront his own fears. They'd sat with him in hospitals. They'd held his hand during treatments. They'd let him cry. And eventually, they'd helped him say the words he'd been holding back for 10 years. Xinghao, I love her. I love her so much I couldn't bear to watch her waste her life on me. I thought if I pushed her away, she'd find someone else. Someone who could give her a future. Xinghao. I read the line 3 times. Then I closed the window and sat in the dark for an hour. The final piece of information came from a file marked confidential, authorized personnel only. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew I shouldn't have opened it. But my hand moved before my brain could stop it. It was Nathan's medical file. Full diagnosis, treatment history, and a note from his doctor, dated 2 weeks before I left. Xinghao patient continues to refuse aggressive treatment, states he has nothing left to live for. Refuses pain management, refuses therapy. When asked about his wife, he said, I already lost her. The rest is just waiting. Xinghao. I closed the file. I didn't cry. I was too angry to cry. He'd given up. He'd given up on himself, on us, on everything. And he let me walk away thinking I was the problem. I contacted the new host the next day. They were hesitant at first. Protocols prevented direct communication between hosts on different assignments, but I was persistent. Please, I said. I just need to ask one question. The host's voice came through the channel, young and uncertain. Elena, I've heard about you. You were the one who... Yes, I was the one who failed. I swallowed. I need to know. Before he died, did he talk about me? The host was quiet for a moment. Then they said, he talked about you constantly. Every session, he'd tell me stories about the early days, about how you met, about your parents' funeral, about the way you leave coffee for him in the morning even when you were angry. He said a pause. He said you were the best thing that ever happened to him, and he was terrified he'd ruined it. I didn't know what to do with that information. I couldn't go back. I couldn't change the past. I couldn't tell him I understood, that I would have stayed, that I would have held his hand through every treatment, every diagnosis, every quiet, terrifying moment. I could only sit in my apartment and wonder what my life would have been like if he just told me the truth. The system gave me 3 more days of rest. Then it offered me a choice, return to the field, or accept a permanent discharge from the program. You earned the right to choose, it said. Your cumulative scores are sufficient for either option. I thought about Nathan, about the years I'd wasted being angry at someone who'd been trying to protect me, about the things I'd never said, the things I'd never get to say. I want to stay, I said, but I need to do something first. What? I need to write him a letter, even if he'll never read it. I need to say goodbye properly. The letter took me a full day to write. Pages and pages of everything I'd never told him. Xinghao, I know now why you pushed me away. I know you were trying to protect me, but you were wrong. You were so wrong. I would have stayed. I would have fought for you. I would have given you everything I had, even if it meant watching you go at the end, Xinghao. Xinghao, because that's what love is. Nathan, not avoiding pain, not shielding someone from the hard stuff. It's showing up every day, even when it's terrible, even when you're scared, even when you know it's going to end. Xinghao. Xinghao, I wish you'd let me show up for you. Xinghao. Xinghao, I wish you trusted me enough to let me be there. Xinghao. Xinghao, I loved you. I still love you. And I'm sorry I couldn't see what you were hiding. Xinghao. Xinghao, goodbye. Nathan. I hope, wherever you are now, you finally feel at peace. Xinghao. I sealed the letter in an envelope and asked the system to deliver it. Not to Nathan, he was gone, but to the place I'd left him, the world where I'd spent 10 years trying to be enough. Are you sure? The system best. I'm sure. The system found me 3 days after I'd sent the letter. Host Elena, there's been an anomaly in the Nathan Hayes timeline. I looked up from the book I wasn't reading. Anomaly. He's dead. What could possibly be anomalous about that? He's not dead. The words didn't compute. I stared at the floating interface. What? When you left the assignment, the new host's approach triggered a cascading shift in the timeline. Your departure created a cognitive dissonance that broke through Nathan's psychological barriers. He began aggressive treatment. He's still alive. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. You're telling me he's alive? Right now, in that world, he's still alive. Yes, but the timeline is unstable. Your emotional imprint on that world is unusually strong. The new host is struggling to maintain the trajectory. What does that have to do with me? The system paused. Your presence in that world, your 10 years of sustained effort created a resonance. Nathan's emotional core is tied to you. The new host can maintain the relationship, but the depth of feeling is less. He's still in love with you, not with them. I didn't know what to say. I've spent the past week mourning a man I thought was dead, and now I was being told he was alive. That he still loved me. What do you want me to do? I'm offering you a choice. Host Elena, you can return to that world for a limited time, 1 month, long enough to resolve the emotional dissonance. You can tell him the truth. You can say goodbye properly, or you can stay. Stay! As in, permanently. If that's what you choose. The timeline is flexible. Your emotional integration is complete. You're no longer just a host, you're a part of that world now. I should have said no. I should have walked away, taken my 7 days of rest, and let the new host handle it. I had no obligation to Nathan Hayes. He lied to me, pushed me away, let me suffer for 10 years. But I couldn't stop thinking about the letter I'd written, about the things I'd never said to his face, about the chance I'd never had to tell him I understood. 1 month, I said. I'll go back for 1 month. Then I'm done. The system flickered in acknowledgement. Preparing transfer. You arrived at the location of your choosing. What do you need? Answers. I need to know why he didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. The transfer was disorienting in ways the first one hadn't been. I'd spent 10 years in that world. My body remembered it. My heart remembered it. And when I opened my eyes, standing in front of the hospital where Nathan was being treated, I felt the weight of all those years come crashing back. I walked through the sliding doors, past the receptionist, toward the oncology ward I visited a dozen times with the new host's memories now filling in the gaps. Nathan was in room 412. The same room where he'd spent months in treatment. I paused at the door, my hand on the handle, and took a breath. Then I pushed it open. Nathan was sitting up in bed, his face thinner than I remembered, lines of exhaustion etched deep around his eyes. But he was alive. He was breathing. He was looking at me like I was a ghost. Elena, his voice cracked. You came back. I came back. I closed the door behind me. Don't look so surprised. I'm not a ghost. I thought you were. He laughed, but it was hollow. I thought you were dead. Or gone. Or I don't know what I thought. I was gone. I left. I sat down in the chair beside his bed. I gave up. On you. On us. On everything. I walked away because I thought you didn't love me. But you came back. I came back because I found out the truth. I reached for his hand, the one with the saline still attached. I know you're sick. I know you've been sick since we got married. I know you pushed me away because you thought you were protecting me. His face went pale. How did you? Does it matter how? I squeezed his hand. What matters is that I know, and I'm furious. I'm furious that you didn't trust me enough to tell me. I'm furious that you let me blame myself for 10 years. I'm furious that you made me believe I wasn't enough. I was trying to save you. Stop saying that. The words came out louder than I intended. Stop telling me you were protecting me. That's not protection, that's control. That's you deciding what I can handle without giving me the choice. He didn't argue. He just looked at me with those tired eyes, and I saw the weight of everything he'd been carrying. You're right, he said. I was wrong. I should have told you from the beginning. I should have trusted you enough to make your own choice. Then why didn't you? Because I was scared. His was broke. I was terrified. I'd never felt anything like I felt for you, and I knew that if I let you in completely, I'd never be able to let you go. So I pushed you away instead. I told myself it was the right thing to do. I sat there, holding his hand, and let the silence stretch between us. I visited him every day for the next week. We talked about the past, the present, the future we'd never have. He was honest, not painfully, brutally honest. He told me about the diagnosis, the treatments, the moments when he'd nearly given up. He told me about the nights he'd lain awake, thinking about me, wondering if I was happy. I was never happy, I said. I was miserable. But I told myself it was worth it. That if I just tried hard enough, you'd love me the way I wanted you to. I did love you. I just didn't know how to show it. We sat together in the quiet of his hospital room, watching the sunset through the window, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. On the 8th day, Nathan's doctor came in with news. Your test results are better than expected. The treatment is working. If things continue at this rate, you could be in remission within 6 months. Nathan looked at me. I looked at him. Remission, I repeated. You're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. He laughed, and it was the first real laugh I'd heard from him in years. I'm actually going to be okay. That night, I sat in the hospital cafeteria and thought about what I was going to do. I had 3 weeks left in this world, 3 weeks before the system would take me back. I could stay with him, support him through the treatment, and leave when the time came. I could try to rebuild something. Or I could leave now, end it cleanly, let him move on without me. I didn't know what to do. The system's voice interrupted my thoughts. Host Elena, I need to inform you of something. No, I'm trying to figure out my love life. The new host, the one who took over your mission, has completed their assignment and been reassigned. There is currently no one managing Nathan Hayes' emotional trajectory. I blinked. That's a problem. Not necessarily, but it means the timeline is vulnerable. If you leave, there's a chance the progress Nathan has made could unravel. The emotional groundwork was built on you. Without you, it may not hold. So you're saying I have to stay. I'm saying that if you choose to stay permanently, the timeline stabilizes. If you leave, there's a 43% chance of regression. I set down my coffee. 43%. That's it. You're asking me to append my entire life for a 43% chance. 57% chance of stability if you stay. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm presenting you with data. I went back to Nathan's room and sat beside his bed. He was sleeping, his face relaxed in a way I rarely saw when he was awake. He looked younger like this, less burdened by the weight of everything he'd been carrying. Elena! His eyes fluttered open. You're still here. I'm still here. I took his hand. I need to ask you something. Anything. If I stayed here, with you, through the treatment and beyond, would you let me? Would you let me in this time? For real? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'd let you in. But I'm not sure I deserve it. That's not what I asked. Elena, tell me you want me to stay. Tell me you want to try. And I'll stay. I'll stay as long as I can. But I need to hear you say it. He squeezed my hand, his eyes never leaving mine. I want you to stay. I want to try. I've wanted that for 10 years. I just didn't know how to ask. I leaned forward and kissed him. It was gentle and tentative, like the first kiss of two people who'd been through too much to rush. Then I'll stay, I said. I'll stay. I made my decision on the 10th day. Nathan was asleep, his hand still loosely wrapped around mine. The hospital room was quiet, the machines beeping their steady rhythm, and I sat there in the dim light and thought about everything I was giving up. My home world, my career with the system, the safety of being someone who could walk away from heartbreak at any moment. If I stayed here, I was staying for real. No system to pull me out, no do-overs. Just me, Nathan, and whatever life we could build together. System, I whispered. I need to talk to you. The interface flickered into existence beside me, small and discreet. Host Elena, you made the decision. I have. I took a breath. I'm staying. Permanently. The system was quiet for a moment. Then, in a voice that almost sounded sad, I anticipated this. Are you sure, host? You're giving up a great deal. I know what I'm giving up. I also know what I'm gaining. I looked at Nathan, at the man who pushed me away because he loved me too much to watch me suffer. I spent 10 years trying to win his love. I'm not going to waste the rest of my life trying to undo the damage. I want to be here. I want to build something real. Your contract will be terminated. You lose all system privileges. You age, you die, you'll never return to your home world. Are you prepared for that? Yes. The system flickered one last time. Then I release you, host Elena. You're free. The interface vanished, and I felt something shift inside me, a weight I'd been carrying for 10 years, finally lifting. Nathan woke up an hour later. He saw me sitting there, still holding his hand, and a small smile crossed his face. You stayed, he said. I stayed. I leaned down and kissed his forehead. I'm staying. For good. That's what I came here to tell you. His eyes widened. For good. Elena, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. I squeezed his hand. I want to be here for the treatments. I want to be here when you get out. I want to be here for the rest of it. Whatever that looks like. Even if the rest of it is hard. Especially if it's hard. I left, the sun surprising me. Hard is the only thing I know how to do. I've been doing hard for 10 years. I can handle a little more. He pulled me into his arms, careful of the lines, and held me like I was something precious. I don't deserve you, he murmured into my hair. Probably not. I hugged him back. But I'm not going anywhere anyway. The next few months were a blur of treatments and hospital visits and small victories. Nathan's health improved slowly. There were setbacks, days when the treatments made him too sick to move, nights when we didn't know if he'd make it to morning. But through all of it, we were together. I learned to read his face, to know when he needed rest and when he needed distraction. He learned to let me in, to tell me when he was scared, to stop pretending he was fine when he wasn't. We fought. Of course we fought. There were years of resentment to work through, conversations we'd avoided for too long. But we fought the way people fight when they know they're staying, without threats, without ultimatums, without the fear that one wrong word would end everything. You were impossible, I told him one night, after a particularly heated argument about his reluctance to let me help with his physical therapy. You were impossible first, he shot back, but he was smiling. Impossible together, I said. That's us. That's always been us. He pulled me into his arms and kissed me, and I could feel the laughter in his chest. I love you, he said. I should have said it sooner. I should have said it every day. You can say it now. I love you, Elena. I love you, and I'm sorry it took me so long to figure out how. I kissed him back and didn't let go. The remission came 6 months later. I was in the hospital room when the doctor walked in, holding a chart and a smile that I'd learned to read over the past year. Mr. Hayes, she said, your tests are clear. You're in remission. Nathan looked at me. I looked at him. Remission, he repeated. It's over. The treatment has been successful. You need regular checkups, but the cancer is no longer active. She smiled. You can go home. I didn't realize I was crying until Nathan reached up and wiped my cheek. Hey, he said. You're crying. I'm not crying. I left, the song wet and broken. I'm just really happy. He pulled me into his arms and held me, and I let myself cry as much as I needed to. The first night at home was strange. We spent months in the hospital, months where the walls were white and the lights were fluorescent and every day felt like a battle. Coming back to our apartment, the same apartment where I'd written that divorce letter, felt like stepping into a different life. I stood in the living room, looking around at the furniture I picked out, the photos I arranged, the life I built and almost walked away from. It looks the same, I said. It is the same. Nathan came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Except it's not. Everything's different now. I leaned back into him. How? Because I'm not trying to protect you anymore. He paused. I'm just trying to love you. Without all the walls. Good. I turned to face him, because the walls were really getting in the way. He laughed, the song warm and real. I'm sorry. For all of it. The years I wasted. The things I didn't say. The things I made you believe. I know. I reached up and touched his face. And I forgive you. But you have to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. No more pushing me away. If something's wrong with your health, with your heart, with anything, you tell me. You let me be there. He nodded. I promise. I'll hold you to that. You have to. It's the only way I'll learn. The months that followed were the most ordinary and extraordinary of my life. We went to the grocery store together. We cooked meals that were too complicated and failed spectacularly. We sat on the couch and watched bad movies and argued about the endings. We held hands at the park. We built a life, brick by brick, out of nothing but the decision to stay. I never heard from the system again. I didn't need to. The world I'd wanted to live was the world I'd been searching for all along. The wedding came 2 years later. Small, simple, just us and a few friends, the ones I'd made while Nathan was sick, the ones who'd stuck around through the hardest parts. My parents weren't there, but I felt them anyway, the way I always did when I was happy. Do you, Nathan, take Elena to be your wife? He looked at me with those eyes, the ones I'd been trying to read for 12 years, and smiled the smile I earned the right to see. I do. And do you, Elena, take Nathan to be your husband? I thought about the 108 strategies, the 10 years of failure, the pain and the anger and the moment I'd given up. And I thought about the man standing in front of me, who'd finally learned to let me in. I do, I said. Forever. The reception was at our apartment, the one we almost lost, the one we rebuilt, room by room, into something that looked and felt like home. I stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights, and felt Nathan's arms wrap around me from behind. You okay? He asked. I'm perfect. I leaned back into him. I've never been more perfect. Even after everything. Especially after everything. I turned to face him. You know what I figured out, after all those years of trying to make you love me? What? That I didn't need you to love me to be whole. I was whole before I met you. I'm whole now, but I'm choosing you anyway, because you make me happy, because you make me feel seen. Because you're the person I want to build a life with, not because I need you, because I want you. He kissed me, slow and deep. I want you too, he said. I've always wanted you. I just didn't know how to show it. You're showing it now. Good. He pulled me closer. Because I'm not planning on stopping. I wrote the system one last letter, years later. I told it I was happy. I told it I found the love I'd been chasing for so long, and it was better than any mission I'd ever completed. I thanked it for the chance to try, even when I failed. I never sent it. Some things are better left unsaid. The end came much later, after decades of small mornings and quiet evenings and the kind of love that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. Nathan held my hand in the hospital room, the same way I'd held his all those years ago. The roles had reversed, but the feeling was the same. I love you, he said. I've loved you since the moment you walked into that party and beat me on the arm. I just didn't know how to say it. You said it eventually. I squeezed his hand, my grip weaker than it used to be. That's all that matters. I wish I'd said it sooner. I wish you had too. I smiled. But we got there in the end. That's what counts. He kissed my forehead, his tears falling on my cheek. Thank you, he said. For waiting. For coming back. For giving me a second chance. Thank you, I said, for finally taking it. The system's voice was the last thing I heard, distant and faint, like a dream I was waking up from. Host Elena, your mission is complete. You're free. I closed my eyes. And for the first time in 108 attempts, I didn't feel like I lost.